Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchins. I'm so happy you joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 344.
On today's show, we're heading out to Park Hills, Missouri. We're going to meet up with Vic Wilfong. Vic is part of the Whitetail Stalker team, and he's also pro staff for other companies. Vic was a 17-year veteran in the local police department, and he had an accident, so he's now disabled, and he works hard at getting whitetails from the ground.
It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're heading out to Missouri, and it's still winter in Missouri, just like it's winter here in Colorado. But we're going to meet with Vic Wilfong. Vic's a member of Whitetail Stalker team. Vic, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Glad to be here.
Say, we had a lot of people on from Whitetail Stalker, so just with a couple of minutes, tell people why you're a member of the Whitetail Stalker team.
Well, Whitetail Stalker is it's a team of about I think we got 18 or 20 people there now, and our goal is to provide people with information, a little entertainment. Maybe, we film hunts and promote some products through social media. And being a part of that team has just been great for me. It's just a great bunch of guys that are passionate about hunting. And, we share a lot of information with each other, have a good time. And it keeps me busy and keeps me out of trouble, and that's a good thing.
Well, I think that's a really good thing. Now, tell the folks, you're also on pro staff for a number of people that go through. Now, what do you do as a pro staffer?
Well, like I said, we promote products for different companies, and one thing about it, we don't have a whole lot. I don't pro staff for a whole lot of people. One thing I'm pretty passionate about is I don't promote a product unless I really believe in it myself. And so I know everyone on the team feels the same way. So if you see something being promoted by Whitetail Stalker, I mean it's something that we all use and we believe in it. And I think people have misconceptions of what a pro staffer is. It's not everybody has a real job, if you will. This is something that's basically done in your spare time. Like I said, we promote the products through social media and different things. And a lot of them we get a discount on some products or something, but that's basically all we're getting out of it. We're just we believe in the products of these people, and want to share with other people, try to get them using good products as well.
Well, thanks for that. And just one or two things. How did you get on Whitetail Stalker?
Well, one of the original members, of course, Whitetail Stalker, Mike and Shelley Grandstaff, are the owners or head of the team, I guess you would say. And a member that's been there a long time, Shannon Sitton. Shannon is a very good friend of mine, and he had been on the team for some time. And they had an opening in the team, and he asked me if I would be interested in coming aboard. And after learning a little bit about them and what they did and what was going on, I was excited about the opportunity and haven't looked back. It's been great.
Well, thanks for sharing that, and I do love. We'll give a little shout out to Whitetail Stalker and Mike and Shannon and Justin and the whole crew. We're doing some social media leverage. So hey, folks, visit Whitetail Stalker on Facebook and say hi to them. So while we're saying that, how do people get a hold of you if they want to ask you some questions? How would they do that?
Well, I have a page. It's Vic Wilfong, Whitetail Stalker. You can get a hold of me there. Or I encourage people to check out our main page. It's on Facebook. They can just search for Whitetail Stalker. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, and we have a YouTube channel. If folks want to watch some of our videos, see some of the antics that we're up to. You can go to our YouTube channel. Like I said, any of those, if you'll just search for Whitetail Stalker, you can see our main page, and then all of the team members have a public profile page where you can contact them individually. Like I said, mine is just Vic Wilfong, Whitetail Stalker.
Well, thank you for that. And let's talk about something that happened to you in the line of duty, and then how it changed how you look at people with disabilities.
Yeah, I was in law enforcement for 18 years, and some years back, I was injured in the line of duty, and ended up having 5 back surgeries, and it ultimately ended my career. And it also has greatly affected, every aspect of my life, including hunting. Greatly changed the way that I do things. I can only walk a short distance now, and gone are the days of, climbing stands and things like that. Now I'm pretty well restricted to, riding my 4-wheeler in fairly close, and a short walk to a ground blind and a comfy chair. But I'm still out there, still doing it, and best for that at least I can still get out there and do it. And like I said, it's changed my tactics considerably, but you can still do it. Like I said, some of the days I don't go as often as I used to. And like I said, certainly, the long treks of walking, or sitting up in the tree stand, things like that, climbing, or especially using a climbing stand, I can't do that. So I've gotten, adapted to using a ground blind and a swivel chair, and I hunt off the ground now, and it is challenging. It's certainly not like being in your tree, but it's working out for me. I went to using a crossbow instead of my compound bow, and years ago I wasn't interested in a crossbow. I kind of felt like it was not as challenging, kind of cheating too much like a rifle and this and that. But I've found that getting a mature buck within bow range in a ground blind is still very challenging, and I'm still loving it.
Well, and we got something in common. I had my shoulder repaired this fall, and didn't get to whitetail hunt at all because just couldn't do it. And I shoot a crossbow. I've been doing that for a while because my shoulder's been bad for a while. And it's interesting. The state of Michigan, if anybody wants some really great data, well thought out scientific research, just go to put State of Michigan crossbow and go to the DNR page, and you'll find as much scientific research as there is in the industry. And crossbows, yes, in the right people's hand, can be deadly. There's no question about it. And they can. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up a point there, Bruce. That it was just this year. Prior to this year, crossbows in Missouri were limited only to those with disabilities. But just this last year, Missouri's changed it where anyone can archery hunt using a crossbow, and I think it's great because it's getting more people out there. You've got kids that want to hunt, but maybe they can't pull a 50 or 60 pound compound bow, but they can use the crossbow. My dad is a perfect example. He's 81 years old, and but he's still very passionate about hunting. He gets out there and he can keep up with me now. Some days I got to try to keep up with him, but he's to the point that he just can't pull that compound bow anymore. So we've gotten him into a crossbow, and so I think it was a good move by Missouri to allow everyone to use one, because I think it gets people out there hunting that otherwise out there bow hunting that otherwise wouldn't be doing it.
Let's talk about the setup in a ground blind. I'm making an assumption you're hunting out of ground blinds, or just you get your backing, to a tree and you get a ghillie suit on or something, mm-hmm. and you're on the ground. So let's talk about how you hunt with a crossbow today.
Well, just as you said, I do have a couple of ground blinds, pop-up blinds that I use. If the location is right, I like to make my own little hides. Actually prefer doing that over setting in a blind. If there's a right spot, I'll just take, what's around fallen cedar limbs, different things, and get those stacked up around me and make my own little natural ground blind there. And I found that actually works better than actually sitting in a pop-up blind. But, that's a little bit of work, and that stuff's not always available. So the pop-up blinds are a great tool as well. I have a chair in there that swivels. It's padded, got a back on it, so it's quite comfortable. And got a bow holder there to hold my bow, and really it's no different than being in your tree stand, other than for me it's considerably more comfortable. And now with this filming hunts and things, I've got camera equipment and everything else in there with me, so actually it's better than being in the tree. You've got more room to work with, and it provides you some cover in that sense. But it seems like the deer certainly are more apt to spot that blind than they would if you were in a tree. But and I found when I was talking about the natural hides, I have had deer that I'm not going to say they spooked on it, but they certainly saw the blind and knew something wasn't right with it. And making those natural ground hides, I've had deer walk right up to me. They don't pay hardly any attention at all to that. But if I had my choice, I'd still be in a tree. But the ground blinds have been working out real good for me.
Well, thanks for that. And let's change it up. One of the things you said were passionate about was getting kids and women in the outdoors. How do you do that?
Well, one thing, you just have to ask. My wife did not hunt prior to, and since we've been married, and I may have a little bit of I know not everyone can say this, but my wife truly is my best friend. And, we go hunting because she hunts with me a lot. We hunt, fish together, all that. But I've had the pleasure of watching her take her first buck. She's killed several turkeys now, a few deer. And, the time that we've had together out there has really been memorable. And, I know a lot of guys, they go to deer camp to get away from the wife and all that. And I'm not knocking that. I still take trips with just the guys, and we have our guy trips and things. But, as important to me or as enjoyable to me is to go with my wife. And, I also have 3 sons and a daughter that they hunt. And I feel really blessed that, my family, I grew up in a hunting family. As a kid, I was fortunate enough to grow up out in the country, woods and fields all around. And I grew up rabbit hunting with my grandpa. He had some excellent dogs and, grew up doing that. My grandpa taught me to turkey hunt. And then, my dad and grandpa and uncles taught me to deer hunt. And I started bow hunting as a teenager. And, that's something that I've always been very passionate about. And now that I have, kids of my own, they're all grown now, but they too are very passionate about it. And you said how we get people involved. I don't know that my wife ever would have gone if I hadn't asked her. I'm saying, ask your wife, or it doesn't have to be your own kid. There's if you know of a kid down the block, and unfortunately in broken homes, there's kids that don't have a dad around to take them out, and you can ask them, and it could change a kid's life. It really can. To get them into the outdoors. And so we were talking a little earlier, I love to see kids put down the game controller or the computer, cell phone, put that stuff down and get out into the woods and see what that's all about. And it could be something that, changes their life. It could be something that they're going to do from there on out, and they may later on pass it on to somebody else. And the memories that I've made with my kids and wife and family, dad, all that, I just can't explain what all those mean to me. I'm truly blessed to have grown up in the family that I did and have the family that I do now that's so passionate about hunting.
Let's talk about hunting now. And how do you hunt, private land or public land?
A little of both. I have private land, a couple different places that I hunt. But I also have some public land that I'm, I really like the area, and so I have been hunted both and been successful in both. The last few years I've primarily been hunting private ground, but I do have those public places that I like to get out there every once in a while.
Now, on your private land, how do you keep bucks on your land rather than the neighbor's land?
Well, we, food plots are a big thing. The area that I live here, there are no crop fields. Crop fields here are few and far between. We have the Mark Twain National Forest here, I think, is in the hundreds of thousands of acres. So, we're talking about vast wooded areas, and acorns are the primary source of food. So we got a little spot that you can fill up and put a food plot in there. That it draws them. It works really well. It's not something that they have access to otherwise. So a couple of food plots on your place can really make a difference.
Now, how well do you know your neighbors on private land?
Pretty good. We have a good relationship with them. If wounded deer jumps the fence or something, we're welcome to go over and retrieve it, and they have the same with us. We don't hunt on their place, they don't hunt on ours, but yet we have a good relationship with them. I would like to unfortunately, we've not gotten into a deal of not shooting small bucks. That's something that I would like to see happen, but at this point, it's not. I myself, I let a lot of small bucks walk by, looking for that big mature buck, and it's tough sometimes because that's not happening on neighboring properties, and the deer doesn't care where the fence line is; he's going to go over there, and so I would like to see a better relationship there, but we certainly have no problems. Good relationship with the neighbors around.
Good. Well, thanks for that. Because it is important to, one, have good neighborhood relationships. And how do you get ready for the hunting season? What things do you do religiously to get ready for the hunting season?
Well, I'm big on the game cameras. I have 4 or 5 cameras that, probably late August, I'll have them up, and I'm checking them regularly. And, of course, going out and practicing with your bow, that's, you don't want the moment of truth to come along, and you're not prepared for that. So I spend a lot of time shooting, and put a lot of miles on that 4-wheeler, going and checking cameras. And, with not being able to get around the way I used to, that's a big thing to me, because I usually have, a couple of bucks that I've picked out that are my target bucks. And I want to try to get them patterned, because I can go chasing them all over the countryside, so I have a pretty good idea where those bucks are at prior to season. And, I've accomplished that through game cameras, and, keeping the food plot looking good and keep them coming to that. And, if you have a good idea of, what you're after through your game camera pictures, and as long as you're practiced up and, where to expect them to be at, then that's pretty well how it goes for me.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate those insights. And why do you like hunting whitetails? What's the magic of that?
I remember as a kid, going hunting with my dad, and it was one of the most exciting things to me. And it's amazing now, some 40 years later, it's still the same way for me. But this kind of goes back though to what we were talking about earlier. For me, when I was a young man, it was all about the harvest. It was all about getting that big buck, and now it's not so much with me. It's not about the harvest. It's about the time together with my sons, my wife, my dad. The times that we spend out in the field, that means more to me than a record book buck. And now, as I get older, I get a lot more joy out of seeing someone else be successful than I do myself. I mean, obviously I like to kill deer and love to kill a big one, but, to see my wife or sons or dad or some kid that I've taken with me, to see them be successful, to me, I get more joy out of that than I do harvesting something myself anymore. And that's really, to me, like I said, that's the passion of it now, is the time that we spend together in the outdoors is some of my greatest memories. That's where they've come from, and that it means so much to me. And deer hunting is, I mean, I hunt a lot of things besides deer, but there's something about whitetails that there's just nothing else like it. And I can't explain it, Bruce. I mean, I know you know what I'm talking about, but some people don't. Unless you've been out there and done it, it's hard to explain that feeling when you hear those leaves crunching and the anticipation of what's about to show up. And oh man, there's just nothing like it.
Well, thanks for that. And Vic, we're at the time of the show. You get the few minutes here to get some shout outs to your team members at Whitetail Stalker. Shout outs to the company that you're pro staff for, and then we'll wrap the show.
All right. Well, like I said before, we invite everyone to check us out at Whitetail Stalker, through Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, and go to the YouTube channel and check out some of our videos. There's a lot of good information on there, and our sponsors. Gosh, you put me on the spot, and I don't want to forget anybody. Flying Arrow Archery manufactures toxic broadheads. That's a big one that, I am so passionate about those broadheads, and I'd like to see everyone using one of those, because I've seen what they can do. And it's all about a clean, quick kill, and that's how you're going to get it done. Element arrows, No-Tech, Jack's Mountain Custom Calls, Seal One, Outdoor Pro Gear. Like I said, I know I'm going to forget somebody, but they're all great companies. And as I said before, if it's somebody that we're promoting, you can bet they got good products, because we don't push products that we haven't used and tested ourselves. And, we feel they're really good, or we wouldn't be using them or promoting them. And a shout out, I'd just like to say hello to my boys, Jeff and Austin and Garrett, and daughters Peyton and Allie. And I'm so proud of you guys and what you've done in the outdoors to become outdoors men and women. And I love our time together. And my dad, I hope we have many more years to come and appreciate all the lessons.
Well, Vic, on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous listeners across North America, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and hope to see you at Iowa Deer Classic. Stay tuned for a special weekend show. It's Iowa Deer Classic coming up March 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Des Moines, Iowa. And I've got the manager of Iowa Show Productions, who produces Iowa Deer Classic, Mr. Steve Finnegan. Now, Steve's going to share some wild stories about not only the Iowa Deer Classic and the people that are coming, Bill Winke and T-Bone Turner, but he's also going to share why he loves hunting whitetails and why he loves taking his kids out. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.